Today is actually very special for Carl and myself. Carl, I'm just so glad because we have somebody on the show who I don't want to be too gushy, but this is somebody that personally, on many levels, I really admire and respect. Not even because of what he's accomplished, and he's a very accomplished man, but on just different levels and different aspects of his life. I admire him for his life's work. I admire him for the father that he is. I admire him for the businessman that he is, and also for his very generous heart and the way he applies his faith into everyday life. So I'm just so glad to have our first guest for the Declutter Effect, none other than the one, the only Dr. Trinh. Doc, welcome to the show.
Wow, that's so nice. I'll pay you later for that. I'm just kidding.
No, that's
I'm
actually
just
from the
kidding.
heart. I didn't even practice that, Doc, but like I just like what I feel for you, Flo. We're just very honored. Honored doesn't even cover it, but we're very grateful for you, not just as a client, but we consider you as like a mentor from afar that has become not just a client but a beloved um family member, if you even accept that, and an
Yeah,
honorary member of Team Dklutr.
yay. I
So
feel
thank
the
you.
same. Yeah, thank you so much. I feel the same. You guys are definitely family. Been collaborating for over a year now, right?
No,
Or
it's been two
yeah,
years though. Yeah,
two
it's been two
years.
years.
Wow,
Yes,
wow, that's amazing. Yeah,
we're
and have
grateful.
enjoyed the journey together, and so it's been great. Thank you.
I'm glad. We're very glad that
Awesome.
you're enjoying, and us as well. It's been a pleasant journey so far, and long way to go.
And
Yes.
congratulations on this new podcast of yours. It's amazing.
Thank you. And
Yes.
fun fact, this podcast was born after we guested on your show, right? It's Carl Bright's idea because he was very electrified by that interview with you and Paul Robert. So after that,
Yeah,
the rest is history.
that's amazing. Yes.
Yeah, there are a handful of questions that we would like to ask because you as a person is very interesting. And if there is one true influencer, I think it's you.
True influencer in
Uh,
his set in the best kind of sense. Yes, I agree. Well said.
yeah, so I just want the audience to know how vast your influence is. And from what I researched about you, Doc, you serve on several advisory boards. And you are a board of director and help found several companies ranging from healthcare to e-commerce.
Yeah.
So can you tell me more about that? Because it's quite a range of industry from healthcare to e-commerce. I mean, there's so much going on for you.
Yeah. It's pretty simple. I just don't take my ADD medications. So, so
All
it's
right.
so my brain goes
Yeah.
different directions. I just don't take the meds. And so, yeah. But yeah, I've always been, I suppose, always been a entrepreneurial minded. And so it's just been a process where I look at life and I look at problems to be solved and
Mhm.
gaps in solutions. And yeah, and I think about those things quite a bit. And if possible, I try to help, I guess, fill gaps in the
Uh-huh.
issues in life. And a lot of it, a lot of those gap fillings end up to be corporations and things of that sort. But it's yeah, that's always been kind of the mindset with that. But it's not all in my mind work related. It's
Mhm.
just doing things that I have a passion for, and doing
Mm.
things that
Mhm.
I see purpose. So a lot of it's just purpose and passion and following those things.
It's funny
The
that you said that though, because those were the exact words that we talked about in one of our episodes, and we're gonna link that in the show notes. But magic happens when passion meets purpose, and that is actually very evident in you, Dr. Chin. And just that little joke that you said earlier, that's one of the things that I also love about Dr. Chin is he doesn't really take himself too seriously, but honestly, he's to what you said, very influential. Like
Mhm.
in the field of Alzheimer, charity work, like nonprofit, he's all over the place. So, yeah. All over the place in the best sense. You're everywhere, is what I mean. Okay, Carl.
There's this one interesting aspect of your life that I want to personally ask. It's because you are a minority coming in the US at a very young age.
Mhm.
And are you familiar with Dr. Trin's background?
He
And
did tell me his story in one of our meetings, like a year or so ago. Yeah.
reflecting on your first-hand experience after being rescued by a US helicopter a day before the fall of Saigon
Yeah.
during the US Vietnam War, that must be a traumatic experience for you as a young kid.
Yeah, it's definitely an experience that one doesn't forget. I was 5 years old, and it was a long time ago. The war ended on April 30th, 1975, and I was 5 years old at the time. And a day before, on April 29th, I remember being on the tarmac of the airport in
Okay.
Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't inside the airport where I were on the runway, and I remember being with a lot of other Vietnamese refugees,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very loud, confusing, noisy. People were yelling and screaming.
Wow.
Um, I was with my siblings. I was the oldest at five. I had a sister who's 3 years old, another sister who's 2 years old, and a brother who was 3 months old. And our mom was with us. And we could hear like shooting and bombing and all that. And because it was just a day before the end. And it was a gray day, kind of like this today, kind of a little drizzly. And we knew that something was happening because there's a lot of shooting and all that. Although I was only five, it was yeah, just crazy experience growing up. But we saw these big black helicopters. They're called Chinook helicopters. They have like two different rotors,
Mm-hmm.
and they would land, several hundred feet in front of us. The back of the helicopter would go down, people would run in, and the helicopter would take off. The helicopter were really loud because I don't know if you've been close to a helicopter. Super loud. We had no hearing protection.
Wow.
So very windy from the rotors overhead. Super windy, and these helicopters would land. People would run in, then they would take off. Another one would land, and eventually there was a big black helicopter that landed probably about maybe 200 feet away from us. Super windy, super loud. The back would go down, and we were told that it was our time to run into the helicopter.
Wow.
Oh,
So,
Uh-huh.
so I grabbed my sister's hand. She was 3 years old, and then mom had my other two siblings in both hands, my 2 year old sister and my 3 month old brother, and we ran toward the back of this helicopter, and the ramp was down, and I was one of the first that got in. But I saw like a serviceman on the right side with his helicopter helmet. He had a pistol, and then there was 2 rows of seats, and I ran in and sat on the left side, sat down, buckled up, and it was really the first time where I felt some kind of, even as a 5 year old kid, I felt some kind of hope. Um, it was weird because I kind of knew that we were leaving
Mm-hmm.
everything behind. And my only memory of as a 5 year old kid was I remember growing up with grandma. Right? My grandma raised me because my parents moved around a lot during work, but remember a lot about the war.
Mm-hmm.
Sleeping underneath our beds rather than on top of our beds. Because
oh,
at night you look outside the window and there's flashes of light, and you knew that there was a battle going on, and so we're always afraid like the roof would fall down, like
Uh-huh.
some mortar would hit the roof and the house would collapse. So yeah, we spent a lot of nights underneath our beds, and then there are certain days where we would, or at nighttime, where we would hear like the enemy patrolling outside, the guerrillas, we call them Viet Cong, and So we would go and we would, huddle into a bedroom and hide, hope they don't come in. And I remember being interrogated by the Viet Cong one time,
Wow.
where, yeah, as a 4 or 5 year old kid, because my uncle was a high-ranking military commander. He was a colonel in the South Vietnamese Navy SEALs back
Mm,
then, and so every time he would come and visit us, and then he would leave, the Viet Cong would come and ask us questions like, "Where's he going? What are his
mm,
plans?" To try to get information right about the war, and even being interrogated by that time. So that's kind of my memory of Vietnam. A lot of it was the war, and I guess so when I sat down in that helicopter, I finally felt like peaceful because we were leaving.
mm.
And yeah, and the helicopter took off and it flew over the ocean and it landed on an aircraft carrier, which is now an hour and a half away from me. The aircraft carrier is decommissioned uh, at the USS Midway. And it was a journey. It was a journey. And I guess that journey can either make you traumatic in a negative way or
Mm.
maybe
Mm.
traumatic in a positive way, right?
Wow.
And
Say that it
so
made you stronger, though.
yeah, it was like maybe a second chance for life. Although I was only a 5 year old kid, it's not like I had a first chance. but, uh, but I think that journey and that upbringing kind of gave us a certain outlook and personality to persevere and to try to to
Mhm.
succeed in life. And that's kind of our upbringing. It's also a journey that led me to God because I grew up Buddhist.
Mhm.
Nothing wrong necessarily with that, but my family's Buddhist. My mother's a Buddhist nun. My grandma's a Buddhist nun. My uncle's a Buddhist monk, and but it's a journey that also led me to faith, I suppose, in a personal, creator and God. And so it's kind of helped directed a lot of my life and my decisions with life. So yeah.
I love how you told it in amazing details. It is as if we were there
Yes, I was
while
about to
you were
say that
telling the story.
you do see, war stories, and sometimes it feels like just a historical footnote, but
Mm.
to hear it from
Huh?
somebody actually
Firsthand.
there, and yeah, so firsthand, and for him to come out, with this amazing life that he has now, it kind of bookends that story beautifully.
Mm,
I mean, not a lot of people that came out of that or had the
right,
same, fate, but
right.
fate like in, what happened to them. But yes, Doc, just thank you for sharing that, for taking us along
Yeah.
that trip down memory lane, but very,
Traumatic.
not just dramatic, but it's like,
Inspiring.
yeah,
Yeah.
historical to say the least. Yes.
I like how he described that when he is in the helicopter, there is a feeling of peace and hope.
Hope and being safe,
But it's amazing that a 5-year-old can
Yes.
articulate,
articulate.
yeah,
Uh,
distinguish that. Thank
so,
you, Tam.
Yeah.
can you confidently say, Doc, that because of those experiences that you have in the past, helped you to where you are right now?
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, we're all products of our history,
Mm,
right? We're all products of our experiences, whether we're an optimist, a pessimist, whether we like certain colors or fear certain things. A lot of it stems from experiences in life. And those experiences in life, create I guess, a certain mindset of how we make our decisions and live life. And so sometimes, I guess for me, I was lucky in that these experiences have not made me, depressed, suicidal, or on the negative side. But yeah, it's helped on other ways. But really, the best aspect of this is that it led me to God. It led me to having that personal faith, that personal relationship in a creator who loves me, who have allowed me to be rescued as a child,
Mhm.
and because of that, there's purpose, right? There's purpose. Is like, why am I here? right? Why are we all here? We're all here and we're all still alive today because there's a purpose for me today in whatever today's agenda is. And same for you, right? What is your plan for me today, Lord? And what do you have in store? Who do you want me to meet? What either good events or adversities that you want to pave in my way? And if the events are not good, what do you want me to learn from it? And so, yeah, I think my faith leads everything. And in the end, right, it's really our loved ones, our friends, our family at our deathbed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Yeah.
the accumulation of things or materialism that burns after you're dead, right? And I think that drives the purpose and the passion. There's three P's: purpose, passion, and the third P as an entrepreneur is profits.
Profit.
I'm going to say prosperity.
That's perfect.
It's yeah.
But the profits has to come last because it drives and it funds the purpose and the passion.
And just everything you said from the years that I've known you, I know that's the truth. So I can attest to that.
Now I have a better understanding what drives you. Because from what I have seen, you're leading teams of physicians, dentists, you have leading nurses with you, and high school students to third world countries, including Vietnam, Peru, Haiti, and Mexico. And you're
Yeah.
providing free medical care.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a medical missionary, and it's just a way to give back from the blessings that God has blessed us with. We're just taking our toolkits, what we've learned, our skill sets. And for me, it's medicine and going back because I was once somebody who needed help, right, as a kid. And the funny thing is, we always go to orphanages around the world, whether it's in Haiti, Peru, Vietnam, or even Mexico on a yearly basis. We always drop by orphanages. We love the kids. There's always arts and crafts and events that we would do with them. And it's always struck me like, I'm always going back to orphanages, and there must be something subconscious about it.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that I like children and, I like having fun with the kids and they paint my toenails and things of that sort. And, we do a lot of health stuff with them. But it's dawned on me that, the subconscious thing is that my father actually grew up in an orphanage.
Wow.
Yeah. And
somewhat connected.
Very serendipitous.
Always connected. Yeah, my dad grew up in an orphanage, and when he was a young child, right, his father or my grandfather died at an early age in his 30s, and his mother, my grandmother, was not able to afford to take care of 5 kids, right? She has 5 children. And so 4 boys and 1 girl. And so all the 4 boys went to live in the orphanages and grew up there. And I'm like, wow, this is probably the connection, right? I love my dad. I respect him a lot. And I knew that, he was rescued at an orphanage and grew up there. And as a result of that, we're always back. It's like, your activities are always connected to your past, right? And most of it is subconscious. You don't think about it. But yeah, it's being a medical missionary is really something that I think, at the core of what I love to do with the medicine toolkit that I have. And I love to take our students back. Usually half of our teams is students. They're high school students or college students that we take back to other countries. And it's not because they have medical skills or anything of that sort, but I think most of us who travel as medical missionaries, we hope to go back to somehow, help another child, help somebody who's blind or who's a widow or who's a patient with leprosy, right? A lot of those events we do. We assume that we want to go back and change lives. But I think the life that changes most is the volunteer.
Wow.
And it's one of the reasons why I love to take students, because our students come back from these trips and they're like, wow, I'm only 16, I'm only 17, I'm 18, but I realize I can make a difference in another life. And as a result of that, they come back with me to other countries. And so A lot of my students have been with me to like 3, 4 different countries before they're, age 20. And many of them are now, they're doctors, they're nurses. Because of their experiences with us, they've continued on to medical careers and different things of that sort. And with the right perspective and with the right heart. That's probably my biggest satisfaction is seeing my own students from tongue out, right? We call them youth ambassadors, right? Tongue out youth ambassadors. Our own students' lives get changed and seeing how these trips affect them in that way. And it's really neat to see that.
And isn't there like a saying that goes that the greatest miracle is was that the person who's changing? How does that
Mhm.
go? We'll look it up, but it's something
Uh-huh.
like that. Like that's the greatest miracle is.
But it's inspiring in the sense that it's very natural for you to help other people. We know for a fact that we need to decentralize our intent to self preserve.
Mm,
It's like forcing yourself, or you have to be intentional when it comes to giving back to other people. But with you, Doc, based on your stories, I think it's very natural for you to help and to think of others first before yourself. And it's the reason why I think your influence will reach a lot of people.
mm.
Now,
But
um,
before that, I'm gonna say something a bit controversial. I hope I don't get canceled
Okay.
for this.
yeah, sure, we can edit this.
Yes, that's the beauty of editing, but it's very refreshing to be, around people like Dr. Trinh because sadly, the generation nowadays, people are more individualistic and it's actually kind of counterintuitive to be as giving and as selfless as you are. So I do hope that you'll be able to influence and inspire more people to be just like you because there's only one Dr. Trinh, but we need more Dong Trins in the world.
I think for those people who are close to him, will
Mhm.
have that kind of passion.
Yes, yes, yes. Especially the youth ambassadors of Out.
And it's because Dr. Trin is very contagious.
Yes, yes, that's true.
And
Contagious.
it's so far reaching that it is felt here in the
The Philippines.
Philippines.
Contagious in the best sense, okay? Not
Pandemic.
like a virus.
Pandemic contagious.
Nah.
Yeah, pandemic contagious.